We're live.
Coordination Hangout. Hi. I look fat on TV. David and Derek does not.
I look like a 12. How about that?
Oh, sure. And I'm the only one not wearing Nebraska apparel. What am I wearing? Dilbert.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
I'm not a real fan. Anyway. Hangout.
You're
Coordination
a
Hangout.
journalist, right?
Yes. Derek Hernandez, David McGee, me, Brian Towle, here with you guys because, we have nothing else to do, and podcasts are just, you can't see us, so now we're on the screen for you. Hi, Derek.
Sorry, everyone.
Hi, David.
Hi.
Hey, what's going on?
First off, let's have some fun and talk about some current issues that we're having with the Nebraska football team. We have a bike problem. We like bikes, and we don't like policemen. Boaz Joseph, Josh Banderas nailed for stealing bikes, although they're kind of getting off on this a little bit, diversion, everything like that. That's cool. Jariah Tolbert, kind of odd. Jariah Tolbert was smoking weed at the tennis courts near the famous 17th and Vine intramural fields, if I think right, or the tennis courts.
Yep.
Somebody said, hey, some cop says, hey, you shouldn't do that. He runs from him, gets arrested for obstruction of peace officer and having weed. Goes to the courthouse and says, hey, yeah, I smoked weed. Okay, no big deal. Which wasn't a misdemeanor nor a felony. It was an infraction, so I guess I don't know. Don't do it again. But he pleads not guilty to running from the policeman, which is not the odd thing of the bunch. The odd thing of the bunch is Mr. Tolbert, who's an 18-year-old gentleman from Edna Carr High School in New Orleans, Louisiana, has told the county judge he's going to represent himself in this case. Now, I'm not an expert on this, but 18-year-olds that represent themselves probably don't have a good track record. David, you're smiling. Have fun.
I can't imagine they'd have a good track record either. I mean, I'm almost 33, and I don't know the first thing about law. I can't imagine someone who's in his freshman year in college would have.
I just don't understand why he's not reaching out to the student legal services, man.
Right.
I mean, I got in trouble back in the day. I won't tell you what for, but they represented. Yeah, I wasn't stealing bicycles or anything like that, but I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't know, and why aren't the coaches kind of advising him in this whole situation? I don't know.
My thought here is this: it's happened a month ago.
Right.
This whole thing is a month ago, and his court case was, if I remember, yesterday. And he still has time because he doesn't go to trial; he goes to a docket hearing, 2 weeks. Wouldn't you think that, hey, I'm pleading not guilty, and if I get found guilty, I'm probably off the team? That's a pretty big risk to take just going by yourself, not getting an attorney. Maybe if he pleads guilty, he's off the team. Maybe he just wants to prove his innocence. Although, to be fair, with Bo Pelini has gotten more people, he's kicked more people off the team for weed, Quentin Castile, than other things. So, interesting enough. Does he get smart and actually get an attorney, y'all? I gotta think he does.
I think there's enough time.
Talk some sense into him.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody's going to reach out to him in between the trials and reach out to him there. But one thing I do want to mention, though, can we call smoking weed at Nebraska like smoking Castile or smoking Quentin now, as long as Bo Pelini's coach?
Have you ever been to LaPorte, Texas? Yes, that's legit. That is completely legit. LaPorte, Texas is this little town on the southeast side of Houston, kind of where the port is, and yeah, that's legit to say. Nebrasketball, because David's here, we like him.
And do you?
We do. We got to give David credit. He's almost ready to graduate, and he's been working hard. So
1 month from today.
I know, right? And he can do his little photos and basketball thing again. That he loves to do. Leslee Smith, playing in this FIBA tournament, and done messed up an ACL.
Yeah,
Probably gone for the year, I would think.
I would assume so. I would assume so. That's a tough deal for him. You feel bad for him too, his senior year and representing your country, and you bust up an ACL in the process. I mean, that's you feel sorry for the kid. Everything I've heard, he's a great kid too. So, Nebraska really could use his presence down low. So that's a tough loss all the way around.
Is there such a thing as an angry Nebraska big man hating God out there, you think?
We haven't had enough big men to have kind of a rash of injuries like that to affect us.
Yeah.
So. This is kind of the year we actually
maybe
had
it's just some sort of exclusionary tactic for post players in Nebraska. It's like I don't know, something keeping them away. I don't know.
I mean, we got the one kid coming in. I can't remember his name right offhand.
Or Hammonds.
Was that Hammonds? Yeah, Hammonds, and he pretty much said last week, well, I'm planning on redshirting, but I probably may not. And
yeah, that was my first thing that went through my head was what would happen with Hammond. Would he have to then redshirt, or if he was going to have the opportunity to play, if that would create some time for him. I mean, he's a pretty slight kid at this age, and so regardless of what's going to happen, he's going to need some time to get bigger. But yeah, I mean, this should open up some time for him to play. But I mean, you would like to see a year of development for him too.
Yeah, my preference would be to redshirt him, but I mean, he can't be any slighter than David Rivers. I mean, that guy can't aim to save his life. But I mean, I would prefer that just because I think he needs to add some weight and muscle.
Right.
If I recall, his free throw shooting was just horrendous in high school as well. I don't think he's going to be probably in there in crunch time where that's really going to matter. But it would have been nice to have a rotation of Pitchford. He's probably going to be more of a stretch four. But Rivers, Ayegba. I keep hearing Nick Greggett think Moses Abraham. I don't know anything about that guy, but I don't know. It would have been nice to have that extra body in there with experience. But it sucks. Just as soon as we get progress in our big man rotation, it's taken away pretty much right away.
Right. I think one of the biggest things for me is you would have had the opportunity to have two big men on the court at the same time, which we haven't been able to do. We haven't seen in a couple of years, at least, probably a lot longer than that. That you've had three big men, so you could have more than one on the court at a time. So that I think is I mean, we saw that against Baylor. That really hurt Nebraska. That they couldn't defend the post. And you saw it a little bit at the end of the game that they had both Smith and Pitchford on the floor, but by then it was too late.
It's probably one of Pitchford's worst games ever, that Baylor game.
It wasn't good.
He literally had the first shot for the game, and that was it. He pulled it over. Didn't even take an attempt in the second half. Andrew White, what do you think the odds are him landing in Nebraska?
Better than a coin flip.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Assuming he doesn't take any more visits. I don't know if Maryland is – I've heard that, but I haven't heard Maryland associated with him in a while. If it comes down to Nebraska, Notre Dame, I'd like our chances. And right now it sounds like that's what it is. And that'd be a huge get for Nebraska if they could get him on board.
Oh, yeah, I've heard
odds,
about 60, 75%. But given our track record here in the last recruiting cycle with, head-to-head matchups of, was it Trey Dickerson and things like that, I'm a little skeptical, but I'll take it if we can get him.
And I think, too, I mean, I don't want to count any chickens before they hatch because we've had so many, Robert Saleh and all of these players who we've come so close on, and, you don't want to get your hopes up until he's actually here on campus and legally enrolled or whatever happened at one time. But
is it a big deal to you, David, that he seems insistent about taking all his visits before he comes, or is it just is it nothing to worry about, or is it something like
I mean, I guess I would not be too concerned about how, unless he's going to go to a Duke or North Carolina or someplace like that. I think Nebraska would stack up favorably with any of the schools that he's going to go to. I think they'd stack up favorably versus Notre Dame. Maryland might be tricky if he ends up going there. I was not worried about Florida State at all. And so from that aspect, I'm really not too worried about it. I think it does show a sign of maturity that he's not going to jump at the first thing that looks shiny. And part of that is he's been through this process once. He's not going to get another chance, at least as far as college basketball goes. So I think there's a level of maturity there that goes with taking all those visits too. So if he goes to these schools that he's talked about, I'm really not too worried about him seeing anything more or better than he's going to find in Nebraska.
What the thing to me about that is, I think it's something that Petaway, a lot of guys can sell it. Petaway, Pitchford, who else? Help me. Smith, yeah. They all can sell the fact that, hey, we transferred here. Look what happened to our career.
Right.
Big arena, nice practice facility, Big Ten. Granted you're in the Big 12, and that's not a bad conference, but would you rather be a big fish in a pond that's getting bigger, or would you like to be a medium-sized fish in a big pond that no one's going to notice you? So.
Right.
Kind of interesting question. Something I noticed today. The Big Ten's going to announce football times tomorrow for the first 2 games for Nebraska for Florida Atlantic and McNeese, and everybody's a little anxious, to say the least, because it seems like it's taking a while. I mean, do we care if it's a night game or a day game? I mean, personally, to me, 11 a.m. game wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Kind of helps people get on their weekend, or it's going to be a big, long weekend anyway for Florida Atlantic. McNeese, 6 half dozen. I mean, it's a FBS school. I mean, they're going to sell out. No matter what, everybody's going to sell out. We're probably going to win. And then, everybody's going to leave in the middle of the third quarter. So, is there any preference for you guys on those first 2 games, knowing that we have a pajama party at Fresno and then a prime timer against Miami?
Right.
Well, for me, if we had a coach that was historically under Bo Pelini, we haven't had a lot of visits during the first couple of weeks anyway. So I would normally say I'd prefer a night game to get the recruits in. That hasn't been his MO. He kind of saves those for the end of the year, doesn't use them up. Anything but anything earlier than 11, I'd say heck no. But I'm cool with 11 for the first couple games. It's going to be hot as well, so you might want it a little bit cooler, but I'm fine with that.
Can't be any worse than it was last year. That 100 degrees weather for those first 2 games. That was brutal. So if it's if the weather's more moderate, I'm fine with an 11 a.m. game. Get it out of the way, and then we can get on to more entertaining games later in the day.
And that Wyoming game was actually a 6 o'clock kick. That one kind of made it. That seemed, my thought is, granted, the hottest part of the day, Labor Day weekend's going to be 3, 4 o'clock, so we can get everybody in and out by 2:30.
Sure.
Seems ideal to me.
Yeah. I mean, for games like that, I guess I'm more in the camp of just get them done, just get them over with, let's move on and chalk up our W's and go play Miami. Fresno, I guess, is first.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about that Fresno game is, it's a 9 o'clock kick, which means with TV it goes to 12:30, easy.
Right.
Save an overtime. Could that work? In the long run, does that work against Nebraska? Because your clock is still, you travel Friday, and granted you got 24 hours to get used to it, but is that a game where if it gets late and it gets a little close, could it be worse for Nebraska? I don't think so, but some people do think so. It's kind of odd to me.
I'm not worried about the time, really. I think a lot of people are nervous about that game, and probably justifiably so, but I guess I'm not that worked up about it. I mean, Nebraska has faced games like this. I think Southern Miss, 2003, and Wyoming, where I don't know if those teams are necessarily as good as I think that Southern Miss team won 9 or 10 games that year, but Nebraska's handled those games generally. When you go to a mid-major team on the road, it's the biggest game they've had in a decade. Nebraska's done well in those games, and each team is different and unique, but that game doesn't scare me as much as other people seem to think it will be. I'm willing to be convinced otherwise, but
yeah, I'd like to be in a position where talking about time zones against a team like Fresno State is not even that big of a deal, where we're at a point where our program is kind of above that. But I think with the kids that are actually playing the game, they're normally up at that time of the day anyways. You don't know what they're doing whether they're in that time of the day here in Nebraska, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a factor. I mean, there might be some fatigue from the fans that are there that show up, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
I guess the only thing I wonder about, honestly, is, you're used to being on Central Time and, hey, is it time to leave for the stadium yet? Oh, no, it's 2:30. You think it's 4. Your body says 4:30. Your clock says 2:30. You got to wait. Then all of a sudden you get there and you wait and dress up and everything. It's such a momentum build, honestly. And in the younger kids, it can play a little bit. The older kids, junior seniors, are used to traveling west for like the UCLA game and everything. It's not that big of a deal. The younger kids are used to just taking a 3-hour bus ride on Friday at noon to a game. That can make it an issue. So,
how much do you anticipate California or Nebraska fans that live in California taking over that stadium? Have we heard anything as far as how many Nebraska fans we should expect? I mean, that's always something.
Not. Yeah, I am not. Fresno's more like a NorCal thing.
Right.
Remember right?
Yeah, I think they're a little north of Sacramento.
Fresno does pretty well when it comes to filling up their stadium as is.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder if there's not going to be that much of a chance to really kind of get in there. I'm going to give out there's going to be some Nebraska fans there. I can't see it not happening. I would like to think that the tickets that are sent to North Stadium from Fresno is going to fill up. So, but as far as again, a lot of people in there, that would really kind of surprise me. Just because Fresno does all right filling up the stadium as it is. It's not like the Rose Bowl where at the absolute best, UCLA is only going to fill up 60% of it, and we can just buy everything else.
Right. Has Nebraska ever played in Northern California, though? They played Berkeley. I played Berkeley a couple years ago.
Yeah, they played Berkeley. Or Monte Cristo was the quarterback. I remember that, and he threw this god-awful pass to win. That was
that game. Crouch had a big game that day.
That was 02? 03?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like the seating capacity for Bulldog Stadium is about 41,000 or so.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah,
not big.
Good luck on that.
I mean, I just think if you get Nebraska into Northern California once a decade, that you'd have a bunch of fans that'd be willing to pay to go see them. And we know the Nebraska fans are willing to pay.
Yeah, I mean the funny thing is it's kind of the interesting I talked about, with the whole cost of ticket thing. It's kind of amazing how much visiting teams basically jack up the cost of when Nebraska comes to town. It's their marquee game.
We've been doing it for decades.
Yeah, the tickets for Nebraska game go on sale August 2nd at 10 a.m. For Fresno State. Not really showing where the cost is for it. The only other marquee game that they have early is going to LA to play USC. So it'll be interesting to see check what they charge for it real quick. Well, it's only money, right?
If you have it.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you have it, it's great. Nothing listed right now, but here's their home slate: Nebraska, Southern Utah, San Diego State, Wyoming, San Jose State, and Hawaii. What do you think is going to be the most expensive one?
That San Jose State game, I mean, that's going to have Martinez on the team, so you'd think that's going to have a draw.
I thought you were saying it's like a rivalry game or something. I'm like,
exactly.
I hear what you did there. So, speaking of Martinez, I suppose you can ask this question. First year in, 5? There's no Martinez on the roster anymore? It feels odd, kind of. It seems like there seems like there's nobody really to focal on the offense anymore, whether it goes good or bad, player-wise. Everybody always said when there's something happened good, it was Taylor. Whenever something happened bad, everybody said it was Taylor's fault. whether Taylor was either in the game or not. I mean, last year it was Taylor's fault that Tommy was in the game because he was hurt. It's Taylor's fault that he came back early for the Minnesota game. Depending on what urban legend you have, it was Taylor's fault that he did something to his foot, either kicking a locker or fighting with somebody or, I don't know, going against some mythical creature during halftime in Wyoming. It's kind of interesting. Is there going to be – who's going to be the next player that takes that kind of lead, you know?
As the whipping boy?
There's always a whipping boy. There's always a whipping bitch. Honest to goodness. Whether it's Taylor, it was – remember one year it was Jamal Lord. One year it was –
hit or miss.
Sam Killer, yeah.
Hit or miss.
1 year, 2 years it was Marlon Lucky, deserved or not. Who's going to be the next guy?
Leader in the clubhouse for me is Jamal Turner.
Really?
I mean, it seems like he's never quite lived up to his potential, and when he's had opportunities, he hasn't quite capitalized on them. So, with the lack of other alternatives, I don't see it being Kenny Bell. I don't see it being Abdullah, unless one of the maybe the young running backs has the dropsies or something. But otherwise, I mean, for a lack of better options. So
we don't really have that lightning rod this year. I mean, the radio stations are starting to bring up Kenny Bell living up to his kind of popularity recently. I think they brought it up today, but I don't think he's going to be that guy. He had a couple pretty good years there.
Not funny thing, the fact that people just like Kenny Bell.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like he's not going to be that guy. I mean, Tommy's probably going to be the whipping boy if he has another one of those 4 or 5 turnover games like he did against Michigan State. But then they'll just be calling for Johnny Stanton after that, which always happens with backup quarterbacks. The funny thing is, you mentioned this is going to be the first year without Taylor Martinez in half a decade or so. Bo Pelini, for as much crap as I give him, he's undefeated in bowl games without Taylor Martinez. I don't know if that means anything or it's just coincidence, but it's weird.
He is
a couple of pretty good teams too. I mean,
yeah,
Georgia and South Carolina were salty teams. I wonder too if there's just some pressure taken off the team because he had to have been a distraction in that locker room.
Yeah,
and so he was remarkably talented, but removing that distraction, I wonder if that'll just maybe help relieve some of that pressure as well, and they can just go out and play a little bit more.
That's a good point because when he was first named the starter, I'm sure that rubbed some of the veterans the wrong way. Putting Zach on the bench, so that might have lingered on for a little bit. Then all the teammates trying to defend him constantly. He's our guy. I mean, that's going to take a toll on you. So yes, that's a good point. Maybe we can just go back to playing football this year and not worrying about any of that stuff.
So I found something interesting. Go back to a point. I'm sorry. For the 2014 football season for Fresno State, to sit on the 50-yard line in rows 15 through 40 on the home side will cost you, with your donation, your ticket cost $1,230. Your donation's $1,000. Your ticket cost is $230. So that works out to less than $40 a game.
Well, that's monthly expenses for me right there. So
yeah, and if you're in the corners, it's a $100 donation or $50 donation with $160 for the season. So that's pretty dirt cheap, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that could be so cheap, but okay. Maybe that's why they're not. Maybe that's why they sell so much. So, speaking of that, I brought this up like a while ago, and some people gave me some grief over it. Is it really that expensive to go to a Nebraska game? In the whole green scheme of things?
Well, if you go game by game,
I'm not trying to poke a hornet's nest, obviously, because I get there's money involved, but
right.
When you see it costs $100 to go to a UT game, it costs $90-something to go to an Oklahoma game, costs a ton to go to Missouri games and everything like that. Nebraska has the lowest face value ticket. Now, granted, that doesn't include donations, so be it. But face values, it's not that much, really, in my eyes. Am I wrong in that, or?
Well, I think for me, I mean, it is the donation, I think, that gets a lot of people, because if you're going to have a good seat at Memorial Stadium, you have to make a big donation for the most part. I know there are some people that are grandfathered in, and maybe they don't have as much of a donation burden that they have to carry. But, if I want to go to a conference game, I'm willing to pay the less than $60 face value. That doesn't strike me as obscene, but I probably wouldn't pay it for McNeese State. And so I think they're spreading that cost out over the whole season. So I guess that way you can look like you're getting a pretty good deal for when Ohio State and Michigan come to town, but you're paying out the nose, relatively for your games that nobody really wants to see.
I think if we're just talking about single games, and I guess it depends on who you ask too. If it's for my situation, I'm usually just going with my wife or a friend or something, and I'm not paying for a family, ticket and all that food and all that stuff. If you compare that to what you normally do on the weekends when you go out and you drink or whatever, the cost is pretty comparable there. So for my situation, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I actually turned down season tickets this year though, because I'm more into basketball anyways. But the schedule is just terrible. I just can't see myself paying for some of that stuff. And with the renovations they did around the Haymarket and the rail yard, it's like I can still go to Lincoln, tailgate all day, meet up with everybody, just watch the game there on the big screen, have the same experience, and save my money for the really big games and get a really good seat. So I guess it depends on who you ask and what your situation is. But in general, the Nebraskans aren't used to spending very much. Our cost of living is pretty low here. So that might be what people are comparing that price to, compared to other things you can do. I don't know what else you'd want to do on a Husker Saturday anyways, but that could be what they're talking about.
Seems like some people like to just go do everything but do a Husker game on a Husker Saturday.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So is it maybe kind of like a NFL thing where, the McNeese State and I don't know who else could be your preseason games, and yeah, you're stuck paying for that, but it keeps the regular season games that you want to go to, like the Miamis and such, cheaper? Is that a fair word to say?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I just think there's Nebraskans, kind of like Derek just said, that they've known how it's been done for so long that when someone suggests something different, it takes a little bit of adjustment to fully embrace that idea.
All right. Odd question somebody asked me today. What's the one food you want to see sold this next coming year at Memorial Stadium?
Oh.
Can I answer this first?
Yes. Go ahead.
I don't know what to say here. I think they should really replace the pizza there with Godfather's Pizza. I'm not buying anything, but that's, I don't know.
Send all hate to him. Not
completely unbiased, right?
It's not like I work there or anything. I don't know.
Well, you pay for lunch with the desk kitchen right there anyway. I would like to see him maybe go like a little kind of new schoolish type of stuff. I mean, what do you offer that nobody else does? What do you offer that's original?
Come on now.
Okay, no. Let me ask it a better way. What do you offer in the stadium that the stadium does that's original? Well, this is original. We all know it's original.
So you're talking like the stadium dogs that each MLB stadium has, where they have like their gargantuan hot dog with like all the toppings, something like that.
Because I can't go to Arlington and not look at those things and not gain 10 pounds just looking at them. So, seriously, I mean, there's something got to be, yeah, you got Colby Rich. Yeah, you got Valentino's. Yeah, you got Runza. But in the whole grand scheme of things, you're paying another company to come into Memorial Stadium to give it out. What does Memorial Stadium have? And honestly, I don't think the answer is anything.
They should make
that's their selves.
A burrito.
A burrito. I don't know what would be in it, but probably pasta and whatever he likes. But
a big old mountain of nachos or something like that created off something. Hell, there's now a 2-foot taco at Globe Life Ballpark, that goes along with the 3-foot hot dog, that goes along with the 2-foot Korean sandwich, that Texans are fat and we don't know why, So
here's the problem with this, though. If we have like our gargantuan nacho or a big hot dog, one of my complaints all the time is just the space you have in some of the seats in Memorial Stadium already, where you kind of get pushed off the row. And if we had big pieces of food like that, it's just going to be a disaster.
Well, everybody's friendly and everything, so you just, hey,
Yeah, right.
Friendly.
please, you want to part? You know,
Well,
the funny thing is this. We all talked about the, Memorial Stadium, how they seat and everything, and there's a big old, everybody's coming up. Oh, they're gonna end the sellout streak. Could you ever see Memorial Stadium going from regular benches to regular seats? It would take everything down by like 8,000. I would think 8 to 10,000.
yeah.
You'd have 85. You'd have 84,000. Could you ever see that happening?
It's an interesting idea. I could maybe see it on the sidelines. I'm not sure if I'd see it in the end zones or maybe all the way up. But
Yeah, I don't think you're going to do it throughout the entire stadium. I mean, if they did, I mean, you hear all these rumors of ticket sales being slow. If that happens for a while, I mean, corporations are still going to buy the tickets out to keep the streak going. But if that's persistent enough, I could see that as a solution, kind of a passive-aggressive solution, like, oh, crap, maybe people aren't buying these tickets. Let's make everything comfortable. Let's focus on that versus the real problem, why people aren't buying tickets.
Yeah,
but
then you've got the thing. Oh,
good.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I mean, it sounds like the wait list has mostly been eaten up, right?
It sounds like it.
Yeah. Okay. My opinion about the wait list is this: there was a wait list if you didn't want to make a donation, but if you called 472-1111 or whatever it was and said, "Hey, I have $1,500 a seat to donate for the next 10 years," you got tickets.
Sure.
I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There was no wait list like, oh, here you go. So the wait list, yeah, there was such there, but all of a sudden now there's nothing, and you had people like, oh, I've been on the wait list 20 years and I've never got a phone call. Well, you should have got a phone call because they've gone through your name.
Right.
So
I guess I asked the question. I asked the question because if you start, replacing the benches with seats, you're gonna and reduce the capacity of the stadium. You're gonna then push people out, and I don't know if you want to do that. Mm-hmm. Especially if there's a chance of maybe you're on fragile ground as it is as far as keeping the place full. I don't know that they are. I'm not trying to insinuate that they are, but if you get to a point where that's the case and you want to do something more drastic like that, I think you run the risk then of pushing people out of the stadium, which I think would be counterproductive in the long run.
Well, Baylor's not using that tarp anymore, so
it's true.
I guess we could find a way for it. Anybody got anything else you want to talk about?
We got to save something for future weeks, right?
Yeah, we do. And
are we trying to make this a recurring thing, or what are we doing?
We can make it a recurring thing. We can make it a recurring thing every. Oh, I don't know. Hell, we can make it every Sunday night if all we really wanted to. We got to get Salt on here.
Oh yeah.
We got to get Salt because we got Salt and John on here. We got to get John out.
Salt's face. I don't even know what he looks like.
He's a nice guy. David and I got him drunk one night at Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Oh, nice.
I was sick that night. That wasn't fun.
Oh yeah, I felt bad for David because I'm like, how do I get it? He's like, I don't want to tell you I want to puke, but here you go. So
I thought I had cleared the. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to gross you out.
We'll do that offline, off the show.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, that's it. David McGee, Derek Hernandez, Brian Towle, coronation.com. See you next time.
Bye.
Peace out.